9 in the morning. Oh, wait. While you're coming in, I forgot to do something. I'm running out of food for the dogs. This will just take a second. I gotta get this. I'm sorry. They need food. We got a holiday coming up. And that's okay. We'll just wait for people to come in. Uh, okay, bye. He's going to call me right back. Okay. Um, what I want to do today is, and it's very important, some of you just want only Bible prophecy, and that's great, and I do a lot of that, and I'm going to do it today. I'm going to tie the news to the Bible prophecy, but you need to understand what's going on so you don't get taken off guard like the church people do, okay? They're going to get slammed. All right, now, I'm going to show you that the war between Israel and Iran is not over. I'm going to break it down to you, showing you the actions of the various governments involved and where we're headed and what we can expect next. Okay? Now, being a Bible-believing site, I'm going to do some praise. If you're a true believer in Yeshua HaMashiach, feel free to join in. It's up to you. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 All right. First, I want to talk about TikTok. Okay? They're getting ready to ban TikTok in America. Why? TikTok is known for not censoring. Okay? And they want to get rid of TikTok. First of all, it's got heavy Chinese influence. And when the wars break out, which they will, and there already are quite a few, but they're going to get enhanced, well, they're going to increase. They don't want news getting out that they can't control. Okay? So, yeah, they're going to knock TikTok out. People can still be able to contact TikTok. What they're probably going to do is try to find an IP block. So when you try to get on TikTok from America using the regular internet providers, you won't be able to get in. But if people use the VPN in another country that's not blocking TikTok, they have no way of knowing what's going on. You get on the VPN, and the only thing your ISP can see is you connecting to a VPN. Once you go to TikTok from the VPN service knows it, okay? But your ISP doesn't know it, therefore it doesn't block it, because the transmission of the TikTok website is going to you from the VPN server, which could be anywhere in the world, and you'll be able to access it. Now, it's going to cut the viewership down on TikTok tremendously in America. They know they can't completely stop access to free information, so they're going to accept this, okay? Now, they might tell the VPN people that own these VPN servers around the world that if they're going to allow TikTok access, they're going to get thrown out of America. That's not a great problem. You can use servers, VPN people that don't have servers in America. You can use what do they call it? The underground web, whatever, the onion, or whatever they call it, there's a lot of ways to do it, but it's going to cut down probably oh, 80 to 90% of the traffic TikTok gets from America. Okay? And that's going to be helpful for them to remember. The other day we hit 7 targets. The initial news stories coming out from Israel and America and most of the mainstream media in the EU and America was we hit 1 target. Now I'm saying we hit 7 targets in Iran, plus we knocked out the Syrian early warning radar that Iran had in Syria. So when we launched planes headed towards Iran, or, the IRGC was probably running the media in.
We just received the first.
Hold on a minute, let me get rid of it. The server in Syria would pick up the Israeli planes or drones or missiles or whatever, and they would report it to Iran, and that's been destroyed. Okay, now these were predominantly that what we destroyed was the S-300 Russian anti-aircraft system, which is junk. Cyprus had one some years ago, and Cyprus is relatively friendly with Israel, and they let us come over there and run tests against their S-300 system. So we learned all about the system. I don't think there's any S-400s in the Middle East anywhere. That's maybe a better system. This will be quick. Hi. I need 20 cans of the natural, and it could come today, please. Better today. I'm running. Okay. Yes, please. Thank you. Okay, Yum Tov. All right, that was the end of that. Um, the early warning that Iran had is gone. Okay, the S-400 doesn't make a big difference. There's an S-500 that they have, but they don't give that out to other countries. They have a few in Russia, and it's probably just revised junk. It's probably not going to work either. The stealth jets get by it like 99.99% of the time. Nothing's 100%, but they get by it. All right, so we hit several nuclear facilities in Iran, but what we did was we didn't hit the facility per se, we destroyed their radar. Now, I've told you many times, the way these countries, a modern country, will start wars with another country is they attack their radar. Okay? And when the radar is down, it opens a corridor for them to attack certain targets. So the first move is to use the stealth aircraft or sophisticated missiles, depending on the case, to knock out the radar. Then the planes could come in. Now, so you understand, the F-35s that we have are not regular F-35s. We're the only country that America lets us do our own maintenance on it, so they don't know exactly what we did, and they can't do the maintenance because we modify them after we buy them from America. It takes a good month or so to modify one. Now, what all we do, Israel's not do they? I don't think they should go broadcasting it. See, is it more this, more? I don't know. They should. Why should they? So, one thing I do know is I think it's the Raytheon 360 system, which America buys from us too. It's a special helmet that the pilot wears that it's got like a like a display that's 360 degrees. So while the pilot's flying, he gets like a hologram image 360 degrees around him. But that's just one thing we do. We do many other things, I'm sure. Because to put that system in probably takes 48 hours. We know exactly how to put it in, maybe even less. So it may take 3 hours. So a month is serious changes. Okay. So we penetrate their radar. We penetrate the radar of any country in the Middle East. Okay. All of them. There's not one that could stop us. Okay. Now, this is bad for Israel to rely on their military because the Lord's going to teach them a lesson about this. And it's bad for them to rely on America or NATO or whatever because they need to have a lesson taught for this. And they will have this lesson. Between now and August 1st or so, they'll have that lesson, believe me. It's called Jacob's trouble in Jeremiah 30. Okay? Now, so what Israel did was attack the base at Isfahan, which is the second largest city in Iran, and we demolished that rather well. And then we also hit another base in Tabriz, and we demolished that rather well. And then the other targets were their nuclear facilities and possibly a strategic facility or two, like an intelligence center or something, I don't know. And we took the radars out. Now, what we probably did is we have a Delilah missile that when they turn their radar on, the Delilah missile picks up the radar beam, the track, and goes right down the radar beam and blows the radar up. Radar is not a real serious hard target to hit. If you don't have the stealth jet, it's dangerous because the radar is going to get a lock on you. And it's going to launch anti-aircraft missiles at you and you're going to get blown up. But with the stealth aircraft, it's my understanding that they know that there's aircraft in the air, i.e. they've activated their radar defenses and their anti-aircraft missiles when this happened in many locations. So if it was just Isfahan, it wouldn't have been, activated all around. So this also explains why the so-called satellite imagery was not showing destruction to these nuclear facilities and why the Nuclear Regulatory Agency said there was no damage to their nuclear facilities. There was not. It was the radar. The nuclear regulatory guy from the international nuclear thing didn't go inspect the radar. He didn't know radar from a hole in the head, All right. The radar was probably not 30 yards away from the site. It was probably distance. Usually they try to put a radar in elevation or in a wide open area or something. Radar cannot go underground. That's a joke, okay? Can't. So right after we hit Iran, the House of Representatives, the Speaker was opposed to giving Israel any aid for a long time. All of a sudden he says, hey, we're going to approve this. So the House in America, the House of Representatives, approved a huge arms bill, $61 billion to Ukraine and $16 billion to Israel. The amount of aid going to Ukraine is unbelievably huge. $61 billion is a lot of stuff. It'll probably keep Ukraine going through the summer. Okay? Now, rest assured, Russia is ticked off. Okay? Big time. Now, what Russia's going to do about it remains to be seen, but they're working the snare. Okay? The snare on America is found in Jeremiah 50:24. The Lord put America in this snare, and it will not fail. It appears to me what the snare is Iran, China, Russia, and North Korea are trying to get America to spread their assets out all over the world due to what the Bible calls wars and rumors of wars. Okay? This weakens America, and these countries are dedicated to destroying America. America has made their life miserable with sanctions, giving military assistance to their adversaries, and threatening them with planes and Navy warships near them and all of this stuff, okay? And supporting their enemies like they do with Ukraine. This is going to be a game changer for Ukraine. And Russia knows it. Russia knows it. Okay. So the coincidence of the House reversing on the aid to Israel, and it's expected by the political analysts that the Senate will approve this too, and then Biden will sign it. And this is going to happen fast track, days probably, is going to go through. And I don't know what Israel is going to do. I have a suspicion that Israel has an order in for F-35s, 25 of them, and F-16s and 15s. And I think they're going to have America give them a priority delivery out of existing inventory of the military, or bump them to the head of the list from getting it from the companies that build this stuff in America. You have to understand this aid is going to require Israel to use the money to buy American war toys. Same with Ukraine. So they're bolstering the American economy because these workers at the defense plants are probably going to get put on overtime and extra shifts and stuff like that because Ukraine and Israel are both pretty desperate for the extra weaponry. And this is, of course, the payback to Israel, and also the, think of the right words here. Also, Israel finagled an approval for attacking Rafah. Now, Israel, on the other hand, has been compliant with Biden's idiotic request for humanitarian aid, and they have been getting a massive increase in humanitarian aid in Gaza. There's more food than it, they know what to do with. And there's medical equipment and all kinds of stuff, you know. Israel's not that worried about that. They'd rather not do it, but it's not a big deal to them, okay? So now we know the Rafah attack is on the way. And last night we were bombing Rafah, some targets there. And that's how it warms up and gets started. Hezbollah, since we attacked Iran, has been increasing their attacks on Israel, but still just by the border, and Israel is still hitting Hezbollah targets. Okay? All right. So the Delilah missile is generally a cruise missile, and for an F-35 plane to be stealthy, it needs to have all its weapons inside the fuselage of the plane. They can't hang them under the wings or under the belly of the plane. Okay? So the F-35 is not able to carry any heavy ordnance or lots of small ordnance. It's limited. Okay? It's rumored that America provided refueling tanker planes for Israel to refuel on their way to Iran. Now, Israel also has these planes, so it could have been Israel doing it. But the scuttlebutt is it was America. I don't know which one, but somebody did it. The F-35, if it was, we can't really carry this extra fuel because the tanks would be under the wings or the fuselage, and it would ruin the stealthiness. So it's believed that Israel took the Delilah missile and managed to shrink it some so it could sit inside the belly of the F-35. Or they may not have used the Delilah. They may have used other missiles. You do not need big, you know, 100 or 200 kilogram warheads to take out the radar. You probably can get it done with, 30 kilograms, 40 kilograms, with a few hits. So they demolished all these radars, which means Iran has no air defenses. They have no fighter jets or pilots worth a hoot that could do anything to stop even our F-15s or 16s or anything. So you could forget about that. So Iran is sitting there naked. Okay. Now, the Biden administration have demonstrated a complete lack of any ability to understand the Middle East during the entire Biden administration. They don't understand it. And these attacks that we did the other day are not going to stop Iran very much. It's making Iran rethink the equation. But understand that the way Iran interprets this is that America and Israel are afraid to really hit them with a big attack because of the retaliation from Iran. So instead, they gave them a warning attack. Yes, they hit 2 military bases, okay? And Iran is not understanding what America's and Israel's doing. Neither does America understand what's going on, but Israel certainly does. Israel knows that this is not going to deter Iran. It's just going to be deflected, and their aggression and belligerence is going to come out in another avenue or another area. And it just did. So Iran's thinking, well, America won't let Israel really attack us. Or Israel is afraid to really attack us. Okay? But they're not very confident anymore, so they're changing their approach. But they're not changing it enough. The signal that Israel was sending, which I'm sure Netanyahu and his staff know wouldn't be heeded, is that if you don't cut it out with your Verstunkene proxies, Verstunkene is Yiddish, it means stinking. If you don't cut it out with your stinking proxies, you're going to get it. And Iran doesn't believe it. They don't believe Israel has the guts to really do it to them. Okay? They're very wrong. Biden is the one that's afraid, not Netanyahu. Okay. Israel cannot launch a ground invasion against Iran. Forget it. And Iran cannot launch a ground invasion against Israel. Forget it. Iran has no viable navy. If they put naval vessels near Israel, their lifespan would be over as soon as Netanyahu set 3 or 4 jets up there and said blow them up and sink them, and that would be the end of their warships. It wouldn't take more than 4 planes, probably. They wouldn't be able to detect the F-35s. Smart missiles we have would defeat their systems, and they would be hit. There would be secondary explosions, fires. The ship would, at best case, be dead in the water, worst case, sink. Or capsize, roll on its side. We don't know. But it would be a non-functional vessel, probably within 2 or 3 hours of being hit, if not sooner. So they're not sending their navy over here. Okay? Israel's not very heavily focused on their navy at this point because the navy is not really presenting a major threat to Israel at all. Okay? So Israel left Iran vulnerable for more attacks. So normally in an invasion or a big attack, you would take out their radar, and then once the radar was out a few minutes later, your non-stealth bombers would fly into that cleared corridor with no radar and bomb what you wanted to bomb, and that would be it. But we didn't do the second part, most likely because of Biden trying to get us to walk softly. And now you look at their actions, we're rewarded for this attack on Iran with this big, huge amount, $16 billion of aid. Okay? A lot of this money they awarded is to go to people who have been injured in the war or hurt in the war, which doesn't, I mean, it probably means Gaza, but it probably also means Israel. Now, the United States then did something rather stupid. They're back to putting sanctions on the Israeli settlers in the West Bank because they're attacking Palestinians by their definition. And now they're saying they're going to put sanctions on Israeli soldiers that were operating in the West Bank. They haven't done it. They're saying they're going to do it, or they're saying they're thinking about it, or words to that effect. Now, this is absurd. What it would do is freeze the bank accounts of these Israeli soldiers, and their money would be locked up. So the Israeli soldiers are probably being cautioned to take their money and give it temporarily to their parents, or maybe their wife or their children, or something like that. Leave a very small balance in the bank, like 100 shekels that they could grab, and then they would have a computer entry that they grabbed the money and they grabbed $30 or something. Now, Netanyahu's kicking against this, and I say Netanyahu probably has an 80% chance of getting this to stop because it's so outrageous. But it's America making themselves look good. America is trying to avoid some things, and they're going about it like idiots. They want to avoid Iran trying to close the Persian Gulf and spike oil prices. Okay? They want to stop Iran being countries like Kuwait, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, Saudi, Jordan, or attacking it. And this, as I'm going to show you in a couple of minutes, has failed because this process has basically just begun. Rather than keep you in suspense, the Houthis, and this is not making mainstream media, if you want to really know what's going on in the you've got to get your news from people that live in the Middle East, okay? And you better make sure they have no churchianity affiliation, or you're going to get propaganda from them, all right? So the Houthis have announced that Saudi Arabia and the UAE are working with the West, and they're very upset about the normalization of relations with Israel. Now, the UAE did normalize, and the Saudis are close to it, and they probably will. Of course, probably one of the concessions America gave to Israel in return for this attack was to, that they would deliver Saudi with an Abrahamic Accord. And I'm sure the Houthis see this coming, and they're threatening Saudi Arabia and the UAE. They were threatening them 3 or 4 weeks ago, before this round of attacks, and now they're really threatening them. So you got to look at the dynamics here. The Houthis were playing their role attacking the Red Sea shipping. America and the UK came in and bombed the daylights out of them, destroying their radar. So they didn't have the ability to get radar lock on any ships anymore for drones or missiles. So what they did is Iran came with a intelligence ship with lots of radar and stuff, blatantly and boldly floated around in the Red Sea, finding targets, sending the coordinates to the Houthis. The Houthis would launch missiles. The vast majority of the missiles would miss, but it would scare the daylights out of the shipping companies, so it accomplished a certain degree of success, a good degree of success. And in the case of drones, it's thought that the Iranian intelligence ship was actually guiding the drones. So they were launched by the Houthis, and then the Iranians had the code. They got into the control system of the drone and drove it to the target. It still was heavily missing. So after the Israeli attack on all the radars, the Iranians pulled that warship out of the Red Sea because they were afraid Israel was going to hit it. They probably got a subtle warning that if they don't pull it out of the Red Sea, Israel will hit it. Okay? Now, the Houthis speak with a crooked tongue. They'll say one thing to the media, and then behind the scenes, they'll operate a completely different way. Okay? Now, the attack, that's an attack from Lebanon, most likely to the border area of Israel. They've been stepping it up, Hezbollah has. So, this is Iran's big mistake. They think if they keep using their satellite countries that they give weapons and money to do their bidding and their attacks, and nobody will attack them on the home front. Well, Israel started to prove them wrong, and they should have picked it up, but they haven't. What Israel wants to see is they want to see the attacks on Israel stop from the puppets of Iran, which is Hezbollah. Hamas and PIJ are kind of defunct. They can't do anything anymore. The Houthis and the militias in Iraq and Syria. And Iran is not stopping that. If anything, Hezbollah is escalating. The Houthis make pathetic show of themselves when they try to shoot missiles up to Eilat. They don't work. They get shot down, they miss. They can't attack the shipping anymore. So now they've changed their position to attacking Saudi Arabia and the UAE. And what this will do, and they're probably intending to start attacking them any day now, what this will do is keep the pressure on Israel, because they're going to say they're attacking these countries because they want to normalize relations with Israel. And they're most likely going to keep attacking the American military bases in Iraq and Syria. They are not the same anymore. The Iranians have changed, but they're still fanatical, and they're going to keep pushing forward. And Russia and China are the top tier of the countries trying to get together to destroy America. The second tier is North Korea and Iran. And they would prefer to keep these two countries from being attacked until they do the attack, of course. And that's their position. Now, Iran is operating, well, if we have the Houthis attack Saudi and UAE, and we have Hezbollah attack Israel, and the militias attack Israel, what the heck is it on? We're not doing it. Why would anybody attack us? Well, Israel just sent them a message that we're cutting the head off the snake, and you're the snake. Okay? Iran is still not convinced that Israel will do a wide, broad attack on them. So what they're doing is steering clear of Israel, and they're going to use the Houthis to attack Saudi Arabia and UAE. Now, the Houthis have in the past, on two occasions, in the last year probably, attacked the Saudi Arabia Aramco oil refinery, which is the biggest one Saudi Arabia has. It might be the biggest one in the world, but I'm sure it's in the top three or the top five if it's not the biggest. They've damaged it lightly in the past just by hitting it with one or two missiles. If they hit it with a barrage of 30 or 40 missiles, they would probably get a reasonable amount of missiles in, and that will probably knock the project offline for a long time. So the Saudis may not be able to produce oil for 2 months. More, maybe. From that facility, the Saudis have several facilities, and they may hit several facilities. In the past recent years, Saudi had a real war with the Houthis, and they couldn't defeat the Houthis. I doubt that has changed. The Houthis are well dug in with tunnels and underground bunkers and things like that, as evidenced by the massive amount of American and British bombing attacks, and the only thing they did that was meaningful was knock out their radar. So if they also, I'm going to take a look at some, they also will attack the UAE. I gotta plug this in. How they're going to attack the UAE is interesting. They could attack it from Iran, but that puts Iran in that spotlight. I'm going to take a quick break, and we're going to go through what they can do. And I think their goal now is to spike oil prices and hurt the West. And I think they could do it. for Iran to try another large missile and drone attack against Israel, it's rather unlikely unless they get absolutely desperate. They didn't do any good the last time. They won't do any good the next time. They seem to know that. And then Israel will attack them, possibly for days on end. And they seem to know that. Okay. Iran could try a closure of the Persian Gulf, but they'll get away with it for 1 or 2 weeks, and then the Americans, the Brits, and who knows how many other countries will move assets in there, and they'll be confronted, and their ships will be sunk if they don't stop. Now, Russia and China may interfere with that and send Russian and Chinese warships there in very small numbers, maybe between Russia and China, a total of 5 or 6, so they could take the losses if it comes to that, and try to protect Iran, but I don't think so. Russia and China may send ships there to try to protect planes flying into Iran. I don't think they have them. They're not going to stop F-35s. I don't see that really happening right now. Because if America and or Israel and the UK and other countries decide to sink the Chinese and Russian ships, China and Russia are not going to send, a flotilla combined of 50 or 60 ships over there to try to dominate it. They're not going to bother. It's just not going to bother. They won't. I don't think that's going to happen. Where Iran is disconnected is it doesn't understand that Israel will not stop attacking them unless they shut down Hamas, which means they try to negotiate a realistic permanent ceasefire with Israel, give all the hostages back and make concessions, which they're not so far wanting to do. The Houthis have to shut down with attacks on the Red Sea, shut down with internet cable attacks, and shut down on hitting UAE, Saudi, and other countries. I don't know when they're going to wake up and actually replace the equipment. So now we might not have internet until after Passover. I don't know. But let me just hold it and I'll finish up with you guys. It's not that much more to go. So, Israel wants Iran to stop turning their proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas, and the various militias in Iraq and Syria against Israel. And as long as Iran doesn't stop doing that, Israel will keep attacking Iran, as you will see. They may very well wait until after Passover, which is, I think, 29th of April, to give the Israeli people a decent Passover. And they may put Iran on the back burner while they keep attacking the Rafah area of Gaza and Hezbollah, but I mean voraciously attacking Hezbollah. Hezbollah will cave. What it will be is a ground invasion with extremely heavy air attacks, okay? And a very big annihilation of Hezbollah, and there are no human hostages or human shields Hezbollah does not use that. So it's pretty easy for us to do it. And they've had about 100,000 civilians evacuate from South Lebanon near the Israeli border already. So it's not that difficult. Now, we heard something that America was taking a hand in some attacks on Lebanon the other day, but I couldn't get it super well clarified, and this is being kept secret. So America may also join in with Israel on the Hezbollah attacks. It would be in the form of reconnaissance and shooting missiles down coming into Israel. I expect this will probably happen. That's probably in the package. So right now, Biden has a victory because the Houthis cannot attack ships in the Red Sea because that Iranian warship moved away and the Houthis don't have capability. So Iran is redirecting them towards Saudi and the UAE to get even with America and put pressure on America, which they hope in turn will put pressure on Israel. And what they want Israel to do is leave Hamas intact in Gaza, and then they'll re-equip Hamas by smuggling through Egypt if Egypt lets them, and continue the attacks on Israel, which may be in as little as 2 to 4 weeks. That's their goal for Gaza. So that is likely not happening. Okay? So there's going to be more attacks on Iran. I don't know exactly when. Israel may not know exactly when either. They got to coordinate with America. And they could also decide to hit Rafah first, then Iran. They could decide to hit Hezbollah first, then Iran. They could decide to hit Iran again and see if Hezbollah and Hamas back down, and then if they don't hit them, and there's all kinds of variables. And it's, again, very likely that the Americans and the Israelis have not really finalized what they intend to do. Okay? They probably are still trying to figure out what they want to do. This turning on the UAE and Saudi Arabia is a wild card. There's a small amount of troops in Saudi Arabia from America, I think under 10,000. They may up that by another 5 or so thousand, or 7 or 8,000. And they would mostly be there to operate Patriot missile batteries and possibly fly planes to knock drones down, fly helicopters, and do intelligence for Saudi Arabia and early warning and things of this nature. To actually defend Saudi Arabia is a monumental nightmare because the Houthis are united with the Yemen regular army, which gives them about 400,000 troops. And it's my understanding that an unknown amount of militias from Iraq and Syria have gone down there and joined them, but we don't know how real that is, and they may have gone home, and we don't know. But doing a ground attack on the Houthis is a nightmare for anybody. Saudi Arabia tried having a war with them and failed, and Saudi Arabia has no chance of invading the Houthis with their underground tunnels and bunkers and getting anywhere against an army of that size. So Saudi Arabia's position here is going to be, America, protect me from missile attacks and protect me from an invasion, which America can do. To protect them from an invasion, they would need, I don't know, 25 planes or something like that. So if there were, ground troops doing incursions into the border, they would strife them with like A-10s, lay machine gun fire on them and shoot rockets at them, or they would bomb them, or combinations thereof. And the Saudis have reasonably decent tanks, not state of the art, but decent, and they have artillery and they have missiles, and they could, hold the Houthis back. Without the help of America, the Houthis could probably penetrate deep into Saudi Arabia and start destroying the palaces and the oil refineries and the stock market and the banks and all the other stuff, They're vicious. They would attack apartment buildings and everything else. So now America has to put more troops and assets in to protect Saudi, or Saudi is going to get cold feet and say, Iran, we're sorry, you can't trust America, we want to be your friend. And Iran will say, okay, this is how we're going to do it. And, the UAE could go the same way, and they're going to start not telling them to raise the oil prices, they're going to tell them to reduce the amount of oil that's for sale, which has the net effect of raising the oil prices. Okay? In the middle of this fracas comes India, who gets most of their oil right now from Iran. America exempted them from the sanctions, which was stupid. India, at this point, is going to have to come to a decision whose side they're on. They're either going to be with Iran and Russia, or they're going to be with America and Israel. They're not going to be able to walk down the middle much longer. Okay? That's not going to work out for them. Modi's been doing that, walking this tightrope for a long time, and it's getting, the tightrope is being frayed, and pretty soon it's going to snap, and they're going to decide where they want to land. Do they want to land with Iran, or do they want to land with America? And I don't know what India's going to do. They're not going to like it. They need energy. They need natural gas, and they need oil, and they need it at good prices, and they need a whole heck of a lot of it. Now, if they don't play ball, Iran may not have any capacity to feed oil to Iran. It would take Israel about 30 minutes of flight time over Iran to knock out several oil refineries, and most importantly, demolish the piers that the oil tanker ships dock up to receive oil and natural gas. And then India is out in left field, and America's not going to try to help them out. So Modi's got some very deep thinking to go through. He may try to gravitate to Russia and walk away from Iran, and that will leave, well, Russia's going to want to get paid good money for the oil, and they won't sell it to them. That's the bottom line there. And Russia's going to want some slight concessions from Iran, but not much. From India, but not much. But the price of the energy will go up. And that could be a path that Modi takes. But Iran is not becoming a hot potato. It is a hot potato. And if he tries to hang on to it, he's going to get burned. And he's got enough brains to figure that out. He's going to try to negotiate his way around that. Now, Erdogan and from Turkey and and Egypt rather, had a meeting, and they decided they want to push forward with the two-state solution as best they can. No surprise there. And they want to make sure humanitarian aid keeps getting into Gaza, which it is. At least Erdogan and Egypt didn't sit there and say, well, we want to invade Israel today, but that's coming. That's just going to take a few more weeks, They're back on the West Bank thing. Notice Biden put sanctions on soldiers over West Bank activities, put sanctions on settlers in the West Bank. So everything here is the West Bank, which includes East Jerusalem, which is where the next temple goes. So Satan is having a big push with his nations to put East Jerusalem into the hands of the Muslims, which are not going to ever tolerate a temple without a big war. I don't think this is going to really take place. Okay? So right now we're fighting voraciously with Hezbollah. Syria is relatively quiet in terms of missile launches and attacks on American bases, the same with Iraq. Hamas is being attacked lightly by Israel in various parts, central, north, and now Rafah. And the Houthis, I believe, gave up trying to launch missiles up here. And they're focusing their attention on Saudi Arabia and UAE, and China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran would love to see America deploy large amounts of troops into the Middle East, which they already have a good amount of troops in the Pacific and a good amount of troops in Europe and a good amount in the Middle East. And if they could get the Middle East thing jacked up by a few 100,000 soldiers, it leaves America way more vulnerable for attack. And that's their goal, is to destroy America. And Biden is not a real bright leader, and his whole administration are not real bright leaders. They vacillate, they go back and forth in their positions. They don't get anything done right. They're not effective, okay? And Biden is sitting there trying to deal with the Trump election thing, and he's making bad military decisions based on political election decisions. So this is, so don't think it's weird that they all of a sudden gave Israel $16 billion in aid right after Israel hit Iran, because they wanted Israel hit Iran, because they want those Houthis stopped from shutting the Red Sea, and that has happened. Now, if the Houthis shift gears to attacking UAE and Saudi Arabia and shutting the oil down there, it makes a different problem for America and Europe and NATO and a lot of other countries. That's a completely different problem, but somewhat significant, not super duper significant. But oil prices, I think, are like $83 a barrel this morning. Something like that would probably push oil up. If they knocked out the refineries in UAE and Saudi Arabia, or at least the big ones, it'd probably push oil to 105, 110. It wouldn't be the end of the world, but it would be the beginning of the end. It would, bring gas up at the pump, maybe $1, and, stuff like this. It wouldn't be that bad. Now, if they take down Oman and Jordan and Kuwait and Qatar and Bahrain, then you're talking $1.50, $2.50 a gallon. A gallon at the pump. I'm sorry. Yeah, let's talk barrel prices. You'd be looking at $150 to maybe even $200 a barrel, which would jack oil prices up substantially, double, and maybe 2.5 times. And that would hurt the economy in many countries beyond belief. And Iran knows that. And America knows that. And America's trying to avoid that. So, like I told you before, whatever Biden does is going to turn against him. Okay, he's basically under a curse. It's the daughter of Babylon. So whatever he does isn't going to work. He might think it's going to work, but it's not really going to work. Okay? It's not really going to work. It's going to be a disaster for him. And that's the way it works. I'm going to be back in a second on the internet and see if it came back. I'm concerned about that. No. It's still broke again. I think the company's just avoiding changing the modem, which is about 5 years old. And I just have to keep making service calls until they get sick and tired of that, and then they'll change it. Okay, now we know in Jeremiah 30, verse 11, it says, all the nations that the Lord scattered the Israelites into in the past, which goes back thousands of years, will be destroyed. And that is associated with the birth pangs and the birth of the nation in a day, and it hasn't happened yet. And it should happen in the year of recompenses, which will be over on or around August 1st, give or take 2 or 3 days. So, approximately 2 or 3 days. So, the big question is, how do they get destroyed? The Lord has had the Israelites scattered through every country in Central and South America, including Mexico, which is in North America, and America and Canada. And these countries, going from Mexico to Argentina, are not really involved in any of these wars. Okay? And he scattered them through every single country in Europe, bar none, everything. And we understand in the Pacific they've been in many countries too. The Koreas, Japan, China, Taiwan would be in there, Australia and New Zealand are in there. So I don't know how they get destroyed. One guess is that they're going to just be killing each other with weapons, but I don't see many of these countries in the war at this point. I mean, there's still time, but I don't know. So it might be the Lord destroys them. It doesn't happen through them killing each other. Now, them killing each other is probably going to be enhanced. And then we get to the point where we read of the day of vengeance in the year of recompenses, and in the year associated with year of recompenses, which we're in, and associated with year of redemption, which we're not yet in. I don't think we could be, but I don't know of it. I doubt it. So there's an overlap there, and this whole thing with them being destroyed could happen in one day, so everybody knows it's from Jehovah. He could use the 2 witnesses, he could do it himself. I don't know how he's going to do it. I don't think he's going to use the 2 witnesses. So this is something that I'm pondering, and we should pray we get an answer for this, because I don't know what the answer is. So the media is trying to tell you that now everything's okay. Iran went into denial about the attack and all that. It's not okay. Iran went back to troubling the world using their proxies again. And it's not okay. And Biden and the UK and Israel and many other countries realize what Iran is doing. Stop. And how they're going to stop Iran, I don't know what they're going to do about it. I don't know yet. I can tell you Israel's not done yet. And Russia's not taking this down lightly. $61 billion of aid, which means weapons, going to Ukraine. And Ukraine's got pilots training to fly F-16s. They're definitely getting ready to wipe out Russia if they can. Okay? And China's just loitering, waiting to go on Taiwan. And North Korea is just loitering, waiting to go on South Korea. So the world's in a mess. So pray that I get my internet fixed finally and completely, if you don't mind. Pray for me and my wife for our peace, safety, protection, and joy and healing. Pray for our finances. Pray for our animals and pets that are all rescues, they'd be happy, healthy, and whole, and pray for better videos, and pray for the peace of Yerushalayim, and I send my shalom to all you who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And just a reminder, the rabbinical incorrect date, Passover, is Monday sundown to, I believe, the 29th. So this period of time, Israel may try to keep peace, and Iran may try to do another attack against us, although I don't think they want to do that. They want to go back to just relying on their proxies, but Israel's not going to let that happen. So I hope you got something out of this. I'm sorry for the internet problems. And make sure you're subscribed so when the eggs start hitting the fan, I do a lot of emergency live streams. You'll get notified and be able to get the news probably 12 hours before mainstream media. Okay? And if you don't mind, give it a like button. It helps with YouTube. And my Telegram keeps getting a lot of updates from me during the day, and I'll keep doing that. So you can send me an email asking me for the invite link for Telegram. There's 900 million people using Telegram, and there's no censorship to speak of over there. Okay? So it's a good platform, and the app is free. It's free. You got to download Telegram Messenger, and then when I give you the invite link, you click on it and Telegram Messenger opens and brings you to the site, and it's all free. And I usually update about 5 times a day. And you're going to get a lot of news that you're not going to get in mainstream media, and it's all free. So that's what I got for today. Again, I'm sorry for the internet disturbance. Please pray that we get it fixed once and for all, and I'm out.